Live pictures of the White House Juneteenth celebration. More pictures the White House probably doesn't like of everyone dancing and President Biden literally just standing there. The official White House schedule says the president will give remarks but not take questions from the press. It will mark more than a week since the president talked to reporters. This is the same man who promised the most transparent administration in history. But this isn't really about Mr. Biden. This is about the White House press corps that is about to turn on him. The White House press corps exists for access to ask questions as he goes to and from Marine One, for interviews, for press conferences. The Biden administration has completely cut off access to the president for the White House press corps. Nobody can remember his last press conference. Steve Krakauer, NewsNation media contributor, executive producer of The Megyn Kelly Show on Sirius XM, author of Uncovered, is with us now. Steve, you think about missed press opportunities, no press conference when the president was overseas, which is tradition. Didn't talk to the press, Paris departure, Normandy arrival, greetings to the veterans, remarks at the D-Day anniversary, Leith Rain, the D-Day anniversary international ceremony, the Normandy departure, the Pointe du Hoc speech, or the state dinner, and then all the way back to the United States. At what point does the White House press corps become irrelevant covering a man that won't talk to him?
Well, in many ways, we're already there a little bit, right? This has been going on for the entirety of the administration. You mentioned, when was the last press conference? We're talking about months, if not years ago at this point. And so what you are going to get, though, is I think that if there really is starting to be panic among the sort of corporate media establishment that's part of the larger establishment, that Joe Biden is not up for the task of beating Donald Trump in 2024, that's when you start to get the stories that are starting to get leaked out right now. The New York Times yesterday about the tall tales that President Biden says. So I think right now they're quiet. That's a real black eye for them. But if it really starts to go down that path, I could see that we start to get a little bit more, just a little bit more action from the White House press corps.
Right, and that at some point, the White House press corps can't survive unless they get access. Their survival is probably more important to them than Joe Biden, so they start to make noise about access. You made a good point in terms of whether there's more to this about pressuring Joe Biden. Nate Silver, Biden just hit a new all-time low, 37.4% at 5:38 yesterday. That's Silver's website. Dropping out would be a big risk, but there is some threshold below which continuing to run is a bigger risk. But you had two things happen, right? You had the New York Times story about the tall tales, and then you had Politico running the thing about how Joe Biden's getting on the campaign trail to go reassure Democrats. I'm not sure how reassuring these pictures are, but to reassure Democrats, which is Politico's now saying, oh, well, I guess our phone calls won't get returned. Here's a kiss and make up story.
That's the thing, right? It's one thing to not hold a press conference, to not be able to handle the give and take with the press. Can he even run campaign events? That's what apparently Politico says he is going to start to do. We haven't seen much of that at all. I mean, they're going to basically rely on people like Bob De Niro to be the part of the campaign these days, rather than Joe Biden himself. So that's a big red flag there. But look, it's not really just about the access. The press, they have access. They talk to people. They are holding back. They're holding back their fire. And people like Nate Silver are ringing the alarm that I think it's just the beginning of what might be happening.
It's kind of interesting, right? I mean, Nate Silver, of all people, he's sort of America's intellectual elite's favorite pollster.
Yeah, used to be until, frankly, he kind of said that Donald Trump was coming in 2016. People kind of turned on him a little bit. And I think he's being, he actually has been leading this charge going back in February. He actually wrote a piece back in November saying that the numbers are bad. You need to believe the polls. Donald Trump is going to win this thing. And he's not saying it as a Donald Trump fan, but he's saying that the media is running cover. They're not covering the story in the way that they need to be. Even if you're, say, a fan of Joe Biden and the Democrats, you need to be saying that there needs to be a massive change, whether that's at the convention, a little bit before, a little bit after. The press is just starting to, we're just starting to get this kind of flow coming.
I mean, if you're really a conspiracy theorist, right, June 27th is a couple weeks away, so we've got the ramp up to that for the coverage. All right, great seeing you as always, Steve. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.